Here we are. Welcome to another episode of Experience Any Wines Live. This is the weekly opportunity for me to sit and jam for about 15 minutes on a topic that is relevant to me in my life today and also relevant in the world for most people. So today we're going to be talking about what it means to be a victor, a victim, or a villain in the way that you use language when things happen near you. So we'll be getting to that here in a moment. First, let's talk about gratitude and why it's so important to express gratitude. When we go out of our way looking for opportunities in this world and looking for optimism, we will drive a more optimistic mindset. So every week I talk about gratitude because it's something I generally struggle with. And I can look back and say, okay, you know what? Once a week, at least, I know that I stopped my day, I stopped my life to look at and appreciate the people and the things, and not always people, appreciate the people that are in my life. So today I want to express gratitude to one of our employees here at Camel Crew, a gentleman his name is Aaron. Aaron's a relatively quiet guy, and he's been working for us for almost a year now, and I'm often not really sure what's on his mind and what he's thinking, and does he like this job? Does he not like this job? Why does he come to work every day? And so today I asked him, why do you like coming to work? And he really opened up about how he never considered recycling and being environmentally responsible, how he used to litter and didn't think about separating trash from recyclable goods, right? Very simple things. And so I'm really grateful that we have employees that come here with an open mind. And when they work here in this industry, in the recycling world, they learn. And then when they learn, they then impacts their lives. And then in his case, he's got a girlfriend and a kid, and now it impacts those people's lives. So I'm grateful for the people and all the people that come here to do tours of our facility. I'm grateful for the people that are open and willing to learn about an industry that I've grown up in and I very much love and enjoy. So I'm grateful for people that are willing to learn, willing to walk into any room and with the assumption that they don't know it all. So if you're one of those people, I'm also grateful for you. And that's why you're joining us this week to take in some information from somebody else to consider because it may change your life. Second thing I want to talk about, as always, is my ask. I always want to lead right, bottom line up front. What do I need in this world? And right now, I'm looking to go to lunch. I love lunch. And anybody that knows me knows I have the best lunch here in Milwaukee. It's pretty simple. Between 11 and 12 every day, someone shows up here to my warehouse. We do about a 10, 15-minute tour of the warehouse, teach them about how we do what we do, and then we go over to the illustrious Butler Inn and grab soup, sandwich, whatever burger is on their mind. So if you are in the greater Milwaukee area or you plan on coming to the greater Milwaukee area soon, hit me up. I'm surprising Taylor with this. Taylor will put the link in somewhere so you can click on it, and then we can set up a time to go grab lunch because I have to eat every day, and let's break bread together. All right, let's talk about victor, villain, and victim. When I first started writing my book, Hustle, Struggle, Grinds, The 13 Lessons of Life, this was an entire chapter of the book. And it didn't fit the rest of the book. As I went through the process with Amelia and her team over at Pithy Wordsmithy, we took this concept of a book and then we turned, and after 3 months, she came to me and she goes, Andy, we really don't have anything here. We got a bunch of ideas and they're all over the place. And yet there's nothing concrete holding things together. And one thing I notice about you is that you're very particular about your words and you'll restep and restate positions, and you'll pull back until you have the right words to articulate how you feel. And I go, yeah, because words fucking matter. And that's how we came up with our book title. And so this chapter never made the book because it didn't fit. However, there's themes of this that do fit the book. And even as I tell this story, I talk about how I was a victor in the moment. I could have been a victim, be like, oh, she doesn't like my ideas. She doesn't think that I have a good enough book, or a villain and been like, oh, what do you fucking know, right? I'm the smartest guy in the room. I got all the answers. Instead, I said, okay, what do we have, right? Let's celebrate what we do have. Oh, we're not going to write this book, Hustle, Struggle, Grind, The 13 Lessons of Life. We're going to write this book, Words Fucking Matter, Retrain Your Brain to Use Language that serves you. Okay, let's go that route. I was excited about that. And that was a simple case that I'm talking about now in which I chose to be the victor. I chose to look at this new information as an opportunity for improvement. We grew up with a saying in our house. It's still in my parents' kitchen today. It says, never neglect an opportunity for improvement. And when you go into life with that mindset, you will habitually be the victor in every situation. I've had many failures in life. I've had I would argue more failures than most at 40 years old. I've lost businesses. I've gone through a divorce. I almost got kicked out of the army at one point. I have failed along the way. And like Rocky Balboa talks about, it's not about how hard you get punched. It's about how often you get up. And the goal in life is you only need to get up one more time than you've gotten knocked down. And that's what victors do. That's what winning's all about, as Rocky Balboa says in the speech in one of my favorite movies, Rocky Balboa. You don't need to have this big cinematic event in your life, right? Look at what's going on in your daily life and how you talk about it internally in your head and how you talk about it to others. So when you get new information that might not be consistent with what you thought, do you break down and say, oh, woe is me. I'm a victim, right? Victims often use excuses, right? I couldn't because of that. Oh, I wasn't on time because of traffic. Oh, I didn't get my part of the project done because Johnny got me his slides late, right? You are providing an excuse. And an action coach uses this great methodology. They use a BED, blame, excuse, and denial, or OAR, ownership, accountability, responsibility, right? That's a choice. And when you use excuses as to why you didn't achieve your goals, you're a victim. And you can otherwise take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. I had a couple guys last week. They came back and their truck was a mess. They did not pack their truck. And everyone was doing this. Everyone wanted to point fingers. And then one of the lead guy goes, I was in the basement. I wasn't watching these guys. That's an excuse. And then he blames. He didn't even know who to blame. He wanted to blame somebody. And blame, that's when you start to become the villain in the story. Because now you're not taking any ownership, accountability, or responsibility for the situation. You want to blame others because it can't be you. You're not at fault, right? Your narcissistic tendencies puff up and your ego gets big and all of a sudden, I can't be at fault here. Let me blame somebody else. That's a lot easier. And now you start to transform from the victim to a villain. And finally, the third thing, right, as we talk about the action coach methodology of blame, excuse, denial. When you are in denial, you are ultimately the ultimate villain because now you aren't even rooted in reality. Now you won't even accept facts for what they are. So you could say the project was late. Let's go back to that example of a project not getting done. Well, it wasn't late. I got my part done, but did the whole team get the project done? No. Okay, when the team failed and you're on the team, so you're a failure. Accept that in this moment, I'm a failure. What are you going to do about it now? What are you going to do about it next project? What are you going to do to take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for what is happening to you in your life right now? Or are you going to blame other people or be total denial? I had a person that worked here for a better part of 2 years. He was in charge of the entire company. And when he was approached with the numbers, the data, it was always excuses. It was always denial. Oh, it's not really that bad. Really? Because the numbers show it's that bad. Things are getting better. Really? What data do you have to provide that is getting better? And now you're using villain language, and I'll be very blunt about it, right? Because you're not rooted in reality. And what ends up happening is when you root out the villains in your life, and sometimes they're in your own brain, when you root those villains out with facts and figures, they go away because they can't handle the heat. They can't handle reality. And I'm no different. I have a tendency to blame everybody for everything, right? Everyone has a predisposition, excuse, blame, or denial. I have a tendency to blame others. I know that about myself. When I have argued with my siblings, I'm going to blame my siblings. When I'm struggling in my relationships, I'm going to blame my significant other. When things aren't going right around here at Camel Crew, I have a tendency to blame the employees, blame the economy, blame the government. And yet, my situation hasn't changed. And often, I'm worse than I was to start because now I'm taking no ownership. Now I'm going from a villain, maybe even a victim mindset that has no ability to control my world to being a depressed individual, right? There's all these uncontrollables. And as soon as I transform my language, I no longer blame. I say, okay, I'm struggling in my relationship with my siblings. What can I do about it? What have I done? How have I shown up? When have I reached out? And if I have no answer there and I haven't put the work in, then I can't blame others. I can take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for not taking forth action if that person's not a good fit for me in my life right now. And then say, okay, I'm not blaming them for who they are. They're not a good fit for me, and we're good there. When I was in a relationship, I would often blame my significant other for what they did or didn't do. And yet, like my brother says in one of his songs, the answer is often in the mirror. And we all have heard that adage before, right? What have I done in my relationships? Where have I shown up? Did I stand up for myself? Did I hear what the other person needed in a relationship? Did I provide them those things? And if I can look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, yeah, I did those things and it's not working out, I can still fail and walk away gracefully, which I have in my past. And even at work here, right? I sit around often and say, why do these guys not know this shit? The posters on the wall, they've received the training. Why are we still failing here? And yet I can say, okay, what does ownership look like? Ownership looks like I go downstairs on the floor, I get involved, I see where the gap is between the expectation and the reality. I take it upon myself to train the individuals. I take the opportunity to coach up people. This morning, we had a situation where an employee came in Monday morning, fired up. He was fired up because he didn't get hours last week. And he was pissed off and he wanted to start things with people. I could sit back and let him start arguing, right? I could be the victim and be like, oh, I don't want to deal with this shit. It's a Monday morning, 7 o'clock. I'm tired. I haven't had my regular coffee yet. I don't want to deal with this. No. I walked up to that employee and said, hey, let's go have a conversation. I chose to be the victor in that situation. I chose to have a no shit conversation with that person. And when they wanted to provide excuses and denial, I said, stop, let's agree, let's get to the facts. And so now we had a conversation about the facts. And once we have a conversation about the facts, we both have the opportunity to now be the victors, right? This is a win-win proposition when you start using this language. And so this, in this particular instance that happened this morning, we both understood the facts. I was being told he was lazy, wasn't carrying his weight. He was telling me, no, I'm a really hard worker. I do what I got to do around here. I said, okay, we can both have different set of facts here. I'm not going to change what I heard. I'm not going to change what I've heard you say. So now that we're on this level playing field, we both have the facts, right? The facts are that you're not meeting the expectations that you have in your head or you think you are meeting. So go out today and prove to me that you're this person you say you are versus this person other people have painted. And now I'll find out later today how the day went and how the employee went. He has the opportunity to be a victor. And if he wants to be a victim or he wants to be a villain, which is even worse, getting all the other guys riled up, being in denial about his inabilities to work, well, then he can go be a villain or he can go be a victim somewhere else. Because my standards are, I want people that are victors in this world. I choose to act like a victor. I choose to put the work in. I choose to take accountability, responsibility for my thoughts and my words and my actions. And when I do that, I surround myself with really good people. And when I choose not to, I'm generally living a life that I don't want to be living. And yes, it can be harder, more difficult at first, right? It's pretty simple to live a life as a victor. You take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. I keep saying those three words because they are really that important. And when you shape your language like that, when you start talking about what I'm going to do, use I language, not you language, especially the people that have a predisposition to blame, like I do, start using I language. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I did. This is what I need to do moving forward. Instead of the can't, won't, don't. Instead of the you shouldn't language that often we find ourselves using when things don't go to plan. When you shift that language, you'll find out quick, fast, in a hurry who's going to get behind you. When I use that language around here, I have employees that follow me, and the ones that don't follow me aren't allowed to work here anymore. It's really that simple. When I use that language with my family and friends, it comes out to me very simple. Who is willing to invest in themselves and invest in the relationship with me so that we can have a great relationship? And for the people that aren't willing to put the investment in, okay. Relationships aren't always 50-50. If one person's 20 and the other person's 20, maybe it's not a good time, right? Sometimes one person can be 20, the other person can be 80, and that works. You have two people that are willing to put 20% in, you have a gap there, and you can still walk away as a victor and say, you know what? Right now, it's not a good fit for me. Right now, I'm going to focus on me. Right now, I'm going to do that. I spent time with my godson this weekend. His mom reached out to me. he's been struggling. And she said, hey, this is where he's struggling. At first, I was like, man, I haven't seen him since Christmas. I've seen him a few times. I haven't spent real time with him since Christmas. And I kicked myself like, yeah, what do I got to do? He's screwing up. And instead, I just said, hey, what is he doing this weekend? I have time on Sunday. And when I picked him up on Sunday, I said, hey, we're going to hang out today. We're going to go to work. And I brought him to work here. And we worked for 3 or 4 hours. 14-year-old kid screwing up in school because he's 14. It happens, right? After 2 hours of work, and I made him work, and he was keeping up with me on the work we were doing, he goes, yeah, this is fun. I enjoy doing this. And I didn't even tell him I was going to pay him yet. He chose to be a victor in that situation. At 14, he realized the power of hard work. He didn't say, oh, this is stupid. Why do I got to do this? It's Sunday. I just want to be on my phone. I want to play video games. I thought we were hanging out. No. He was looking at it like, all right, you know what? I'm learning a skill set. I'm spending time with my godfather. We were both listening to music and just hanging out and talking, right? A 14-year-old and a 40-year-old guy that haven't figured out life quite do. And at 14, he figured out that this is the moment he can embrace. My challenge to you is simple this week. Look at the situation you're finding yourself. Good, bad, indifferent, ugly, everything, right? What is the optimism in there? What can you control? How do you shape that language where you're now the victor of that moment? You're a victor of that result. You're a victim of your own story instead of a victim of your circumstance. When you go out and do the 3 things, you will become the victor that you need to be. And those 3 things are the same thing every week because they are consistent. They work. They are simple. Do the fucking thing. Tell the fucking world and show the fuck up. We'll see you next week.